All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hero Nation Show, the place where business owners and entrepreneurs just like you come to learn tools and tactics to live more epic lives. I'm your host, John Rinehart, and across from me is Wayne Zalmans, and today we're going to be talking and answering the top 8 questions about business or problems that businesses have, according to Google and Forbes.
We Googled, here are the top 8 issues that businesses have.
Yep. So, and we're going to answer the top 8. So
we're going there.
Here we go. We're going to start off strong.
Wow.
The first question, according to Forbes, the problems that business face is integrity.
So
wow.
And I think what they mean there's moral challenges today, and there's some moral challenges we face today that we didn't face years ago, down to like, hey, I get my purses made in China in a sweatshop to, well, I mean, there's all this stuff going on, right?
Do you emphasize the people, or do you emphasize the money?
Yeah,
do you do profit first, or your customers, or your
and the internet has changed the game, right? So like when you talk about intellectual property, would you agree the internet and Instagram has changed the game, right?
Completely.
So like
100%.
someone posts a picture of something brilliant they wrote, and in the eyes of the world, like that's fair game. Like your intellectual property it's very tough to retain intellectual property. It's a lot tougher today than it was 20 years ago, which
Absolutely.
is why you can't come up with one brilliant thing and just ride it for 5 years like maybe you used to. You got to put out brilliant content over and over and over. So when we talk about integrity, there's a whole lot there.
Yeah, like, well, if we're talking about the coaching side, do you create your own content, or do you just pick off everyone else's and call it your own? Instagram, like, do you take the time to make your own photos and videos, or do you steal someone else's? Are you stealing memes? That's a real question. Is your business stealing memes?
That's me.
I think that there's a lot of temptation to take shortcuts and to take side steps, right? Especially when the road is hard. I don't care whether it's with your taxes, or with accounting, or with paying employees. There's the whole myriad of that in just. Yes. Those issues right there.
Well, and I think that's why you and I, with our clients, one of the things we focus on in the early stages is figuring out your identity as a business so that you can hold on to that as you grow. What are your values? What are your beliefs?
What's your big one?
And I think one of the hard things is those transition a little bit. We see it especially in real estate all the time, right? Somebody starts out off as an individual agent, and it's kind of a hobby. It's kind of fun. It's kind of like, let's just figure this out. And then as you grow, you got to instill more systems and processes and find a balance in there. But it's tough to stay true to who you are when so many things are changing all the time. So it's tough to kind of figure out who are you, what are your core principles, and then hold to those if you've never established them in the first point.
All right, the second issue.
Money.
Do you borrow? Do you have cash? Do you keep your cash? It doesn't really matter how much comes in if you don't know how to keep it there.
Ooh, there you go. Cash is the issue oftentimes. Most of you that are watching or listening to this, you are in a for-profit business, which means that you should make a profit. So it's a lot, I know, crazy. A lot of the issues we have are, right, should I borrow cash? Should I, what's a good profit margin? All these things come up. One of the most interesting things I heard Dave and John say is how many businesses fail because they have too much cash.
They don't get creative because they just plow the way through. That comes down to like what Bill Gates has talked about, where he said, he'll always take a lazy technician or like a lazy coder over like a really smart one, because the lazy one will find the fastest way and the easiest way to do it, where the really smart guy will just try to create the most complicated system ever. It's kind of true. Sometimes cash can cripple you, right? Because you're just like, well, I can just do everything, instead of being really strategic. You know what? If I put this piece of cash here and I just buy one thing because that's all I can afford, where do I do? Where do I put it? So,
well, I think when it comes to cash, actually somebody called us yesterday to interview us for an article about mistakes entrepreneurs make, and I think A couple of those mistakes are, one, and I see this especially in the real estate world, and I think it's true in all businesses. They think that they're going to reinvest, and at some point they're going to have this big break. And I think that a lot of times that's not true, meaning if you can't figure out how to have a profit margin when you're doing 40, 50 houses a year, when you get to 500, it's not going to magically fix itself. And I had a friend of mine that said this.
Your business model.
Yeah, a friend of mine said years ago, like, you're never going to out-earn stupid. So if you don't know how to take care of your money at this point, it's probably not going to get better with just more. But I think this is true, figuring out that when do you ask for money, what do you do, how do you take care of it?
Okay, and what would be your best advice for how to take care of cash?
Best advice is check with your money often. Meaning, like right now, I wish I would have done this years ago. Right
P&L.
now, every single week, I sit down with my bookkeeper and we review the P&L. Right, every single week we look at it. And just if I was just going to start, just look. Just check in with it once a week.
It's accountability,
and start get some accountability to start there. Yep.
It's the worst thing about like being a business owner is that we all think that we can be accountable to ourselves, and that's not really true. So
read Profit First. Awesome book, by the way.
Profit
Love
First.
that book. Great book. Yeah.
Nice. All right. So the third issue, increased selection and competition. Yep. That's pretty much across the board. I don't care what you're talking about, real estate or video. I don't care what you're talking about. That is a problem everywhere. Here's my solution. I don't care what industry that you're in. Do the thing that no one else will do. Right? There are always videographers, and like for myself, I remember I was filming a this really nice like luxury. I don't know. It was like a $6.3 million listing or something like that. It was when we were just starting out, and they wanted some shots. It was down on like Lake Travis, and they're like, yeah, we could get some really good shots from on the water if there was a boat. And it was
by the way, that's where the Hero Nation 101 client retreat is this year. Just a little shameless plug. Check out Lake Austin.
Now we got to put this ahead so that there's actually enough time. So anyway, it's there on Lake Austin, and it's in the middle of winter, and he's like, I wish we could get those shots. And I'm like, that shot would make this deal. Like it's going to be such a good shot. So the next thing he knows, I'm like, I jumped in the water and had the camera above my head, and I'm swimming out into the lake to get the shot. And he's like, the realtor was like, you just did what? Did you just jump into the lake, into the water to get the shot? And I'm like, yeah, because that's what needed to happen to make this amazing. He's like, no one's ever just been like, yeah, cool, I'm just going to jump in the water. He goes, you have to change clothes? I'm like, no, I'm just going to have to dry off in the wind. But it's going that extra mile. Sometimes we talk about extra miles and it gets a little, it's been used too much time. So I'm going to say, do the thing that no one else will do. If you will do the work that no one else will do, if you will just do the work that no one else will do to get the payout that no one else is willing, that everybody else wants, come on. That's like a number one way of keeping ahead of everyone.
Yeah. Well, and I think like our competition is getting bigger and bigger because the barrier to entry is getting lower to lower, right? Like when you're competing for a film edit, you could be competing with people all over the world, not just people in your town, right? So I think you've got to get really good at your craft. Most people will skim, and the people that win are the ones that will go deep, right? The ones that will become the best of the best of the best and master their craft. So
and the second thing I would say there is master your database, master your contacts, keep in contact with people. It's like you want to be top of mind. There's nothing more frustrating than for me. I've heard this from realtors too. Like, you've done this like great work for someone, whatever, and the next thing you know, like the realtor is out there and he has like a different photographer or something like that, and you're like, what the hell? We did amazing work together, all this kind of stuff. And he's like, and you call him and you're like, what's going on? And they're like, oh, dude, like I thought you were probably busy or something like that. Didn't think you really had the time. And you're like, well, I just lost out on, a couple grand because I didn't keep in contact. I didn't keep in touch with my client, because if I was in touch with my client when he had a need, I would have been there to fill it.
You've got two options a lot of times as a business when new stuff floods the market. You can either lower your price or you can increase your value.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, 9 times out of 10, if you begin to lower your price thing and you begin a race to who's going to be the cheapest, that is a really tough battle to win unless you're going to be Walmart or Costco and be all over the world, right? Don't worry. Stop thinking, how much do I need to lower my price? Think about how much do I need to increase my value, right? Yeah.
So kind of along those same lines, marketing and customer loyalty.
This is one of the biggest things that people struggle with in this business, and you just talked about it. Customer loyalty. No wonder it's number 4 on this list. Customer loyalty is huge.
Yeah. So how do you encourage customers to be loyal?
Don't get Toys R Us. Here's what I mean by that. Everybody loved Toys R Us, right? Didn't they? I mean, everybody loved Toys R Us, and yet nobody shopped there. And here's why. Right? Because Amazon became customer centric and figured out what were the struggles of their customer, and they went there, right? Blockbuster didn't go away because Netflix came in. People started using Netflix because they hated driving to Blockbuster. They hated the rental overday fees that were just insane, right? If you're not listening to your customers, somebody else is, and they're going to take you out.
Yeah. It was kind of like what the Ninja Jinja, Miss Jameson Olsen said. She was talking about like how she does how she approaches people. She goes, most people approach businesses like this with their hand out, and she's like, what can I give you? Right, and I think that's a really big deal. If you haven't listened to that podcast, I hope it's out by now. I think it's probably going to be out.
One more thing on that, we teach we teach database in Fuel, right? One of the things we do in the 12 months of Fuel is talk about database. And one of my favorite questions to ask in there is, do people even know they're in your database? Like, do your customers even know your customers? Whose database are you in that you'd be disappointed if you got kicked out of? Would your customers be disappointed they got kicked out of your database? Would they even know? And the answer oftentimes is no. So you got to up your game.
And before I forget about it, if you want to join Fuel or you want to have like some more of those conversations, make sure you go to theheronation.com. Go sign up for Fuel. It's awesome. And take a look. So the next thing on this list is uncertainty. Oh man, if you
this
feel
is only
like,
every other coach you call.
I know.
Yes.
It's like if you feel like your business is on a roller coaster going, woo, woo,
you're in business.
Come on, Wayne, ride the roller coaster with me.
I cannot believe how well we did that. That was amazing. Like, we did that. Like, that was I feel like we should have practiced. We didn't, and we nailed it. That was amazing. All right, yeah. Uncertainty. Welcome to 2019. A 1-year business plan is bullshit. Right? A 1-year business plan is bullshit because the game is changing so fast. Right? The game is changing so fast and things are happening all the time. So when you talk about uncertainty, there's a whole lot there.
Everyone's looking to do one thing, which is regulate uncertainty. But here's the thing. If you're doing your must-dos, if you're doing the things that you need to be doing on a daily basis, the ones that you need to be doing, being proactive instead of reactive, you're gonna be able to deal with uncertainty. If you're constantly just putting out fires in your business, your uncertainty is just like this. It's like, woo!
Yeah, if you're running
we're trying to create predictability.
If you're running your business in a reactive manner, you're going to be screwed. If you're running your business in a proactive manner, you're probably going to be in a great place.
Yeah.
Uncertainty is going to happen. Yet, like you said, one of the greatest gifts I think we give our clients is clarity, predictability, and sustainability. Right? Because we do the deep work to figure that stuff out. So yeah, there you go. All right, number 6.
This is regulation. Guys, this kind of goes along the same thing, right? So I don't care what's happening outside in your world, whether we're talking about global warming,
there are
whether
some
we're
things
talking
you can't control, no matter how well you plan.
But here's the deal. Even if there's stuff that you can't control, you can have a plan to deal with the things you can't control. And if you're looking ahead in your business and what's going on in your environment, you can figure out so when I was doing drones and all this kind of stuff, all of a sudden all these regulations came in with the FAA.
Right.
and there was gray stuff before. Well, all of a sudden we had to go get pilot's licenses. All my crew had to go get them. There was this stuff, but guess what? We were already ahead of it. We had people study over a year ahead of time, so that when it came time, it's not a big deal. It was a regulation. Was there extra costs? Yes, but we already had the cost covered. We already knew what we were doing. It's a part of doing business. It's only a big deal if you don't have your eyes far enough ahead to see what's actually coming down the road.
And then on the other side of that, I disagree with you. I think there's some things you can't see coming. Right. So in other words, let's it's like when I used to be in real estate and the MLS would change this whole system. Right. So you were doing all your stuff one way. Then the MLS committee would go, all right, we're using a whole new system. And then they would just implement the new system. And what I would see is you'd see some people that would literally moan and complain about that for 6 months. Yeah. And then there's the other people that go, all right, this sucks for a minute. And I got to go get the license. I got to go learn. I may as well just learn this. I'm not going to waste any time complaining about something I can't control. There's a new regulation and go, right? Every time there's a new form, storm, norm, perform. There's a new form, which pushes me in a storm. Oh shit, I got to get a pilot's license, or I got to learn a new, system, MLS system, whatever it is. And then as soon as you accept that for what it is, that allows you to get into norming, and then you can start performing. Yeah. So when regulations are going to keep happening, you mitigate your risk by just leaning in.
And I think that actually comes back down to problem solving and risk management, which is number 7. And that makes total sense because it's problem solving, right? When a regulation happens, or let's say your business is online, let's say it's with Facebook, and we all know how much Facebook likes to change everything from how they do ads to Google ads to Instagram. It was what was okay is not okay. Tomorrow they take away the like button. Oh my God, here we go. Problem solving. How long does it take you to get there, and how fast can you solve the problem? I think it comes down to, and this comes down also with your clients. Are you the problem solver?
Yeah, and what's your perception of problems, right?
Yeah.
And I tell this to realtors all the time. You get paid to solve problems, and yet you complain about problems. That would be like somebody going to their mechanic, and the mechanic going, "I hate that people with broke cars keep showing up." And you're like, that's your job. Part of your job is problem solving. And I think you have to realize that, hey, this is why I get paid money. The bigger the problems I solve, the more money I'm probably going to make. And you got to lean in on those.
When I first started working for Keller Williams, there was a video producer there that I was working with by the name of Olaf Reistrip. And I was complaining one day about, why realtors around the world didn't understand this certain whatever. And he's like, John, if everybody was as smart as you and knew what you knew, you'd be out of a job.
You wouldn't have a job.
And I was like, oh dang, I am so happy for idiots.
If we didn't have here's the reality. If we didn't have tough, complicated problems, then a bunch of robots would just do everything.
Exactly. So be really grateful for the problems that you get to solve. Now, as far as risk management is concerned, it's weighing the pros and the cons. It's dealing with that, and on a daily basis, that's hard.
Yeah, well, and I think it's having systems and processes to deal with stuff. So one of the best quotes I heard from a wine manufacturer one time actually is he said, we right every wrong, meaning every time something went wrong, they would write down what they were going to do different. They would add a step to the process, or they would write down a new thing that they needed to do. They would write down what they were going to do different. So part of risk management is not pretending problems aren't going to come up. It's just being effective at handling them, and then hedging your stuff moving forward. So I think it's a big part of it. Not running away from those, having system process to go through it. So all right, number 8.
Actually, I'm gonna say one more thing.
We're so close.
Making sure that you the thing of you never make the same mistake the same way twice. Yes. If you have, you're in the wrong spot. So, all right, finding the right staff. Number 8, finding the right people.
This reminds me of one of my favorite Warren Buffett quotes is, he says, "Business is easy, people are hard." And there is a hell of a lot of truth to that statement, right? And it's not only finding the right people, it's training them, it's keeping them. There's a whole thing. But I think you're right. It starts with finding the right people.
So let me ask you this. What do you think about people who say, I just hire using my gut?
My gut is 100% right 50% of the time.
Oh.
Right? Like I mean, maybe it's just indigestion. I put systems in place so that I don't just trust my gut. I think you need to listen to your gut. But I know my gut sucks sometimes. And here's why. I kind of love everyone. I kind of see the best in everyone. I think everybody has potential, and I really believe everyone has potential.
Yeah.
And that can get me in harm's way, right?
Yep.
So I think that's a big thing. And I think when you talk about looking for staff, I think two things mess people up. One, they see it as an event, not part of their everyday stuff, right? They look at it as, I need to hire somebody once, but if you're ever going to run a successful business, you're going to continually be bringing people on.
So do you constantly have feelers out? Do you constantly have someone getting ready that you're like, could they do a better job? Could this be a good place? Don't get settled with your staff.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I interviewed someone last week, not because I'm ready to hire anybody, but because she was recommended to me, and I thought, let's have a conversation. And maybe in 2 weeks I need someone, or maybe somebody else I know, right? But you and I are always on the hunt for talent and great people.
For great talent.
Yeah. Did you ever read The Ideal Team Player? Did you read that yet?
I have not read that
God,
yet.
I love that book. Okay, read The Ideal Team Player before you hire anyone else. Talks about three things, right? Hungry, humble, and smart. And it says you need, right, if you boil everything down to three things, hungry, humble, and smart are key.
Yeah.
Right? Hungry,
I always look for hungry.
You can't make somebody hungry.
No.
Right? You can incentivize them here, there, and everything, but you kind of have it or you don't.
You're either like large and in charge and you're ready to go, or you're not.
And one of their favorite questions is, did you have a job in high school?
Yeah.
If you had a job in high school, it probably means you're hungry and you're someone that's doing that stuff.
My other favorite question on that is, what is the last book that you read, and what are the 5 things that you can tell me about it, and how you implemented it into your life. Yeah. And if people, you can always tell when someone's learning because they're spouting off what they learned, because there's overflow. Right, that's what happens when your friends like telling you about like the awesome book, The Art of Getting Back Up, and they're like, I can't believe I read this book by this crazy man William Salmons, and like, oh my gosh, it's amazing, and look what they start spouting off different stuff. When you grow, right, when you read, there's growth there, and being hungry normally equals people feeding themselves.
Right, it's real hard to pour into somebody else if there's nothing in your cup.
Exactly.
Right. And the other one is humble. And humble doesn't mean low self-confidence. No. Right. You can have high self-confidence and still have humility. Yeah. And I think that's one of those things. I don't know how to teach humility. It's one of those things that you kind of have or you don't. And we can spend an hour on that, but that's just my belief.
Yeah, that's a deep one.
And then the last one is smart. And smart doesn't necessarily mean just technically smart. Smart means people smart. Can they interact with other people? Can they interact with can the admin people talk to the sales people? And can they talk to the marketing people? And can they talk to the clients, right? So are they people smart, and do they have some self-reflection?
Nice. All right, guys. So that is the top 8 questions by Google and Forbes. Let us know if you have any questions down below. We will make sure that we answer those. Maybe we'll put them in another video. Who knows? Guys, if you haven't already, before we forget, just hop on over to theheronation.com. Check us out. Look, we got a bunch of other videos. I mean, guys, you can get us on iTunes and Google and Spotify and Pocket Cast. We're all over the place. If you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube or joined the Facebook groups, there is a plethora of stuff, of free, amazing content out there that you just need to reach out and get a hold of. So until next time, guys, be your own hero.